Hey, hey. Tuesday night again. How you doing, fellas? What's new? What's happening? Got a few of us in, just a handful of us in the room at the moment. Chris Freemesser. Good to have you here, mate, as always. You always rely on you to be here. I know that much. David Tyree. Yeah, all the regulars are here. Good to have you here, bud. Jeff Hutchins. Hey, mate. How you doing? Now, what's this? Holla me amigos. Wait, wrong stream. G'day, mates. Yes, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Roy Miller, welcome along. LVG is in the house. Indeed, he is. Good to have you here, man. So, what's new other than it's hot? But that's not really news, is it? I think everyone's well aware of that. Man, we got over 100 degrees at the shop today. It's like far out. It was 40.5 Celsius, which is a lot. I think that's 103 or 105 Celsius, something like that. Crazy stuff. Hang on, I'll tell you in a second. 40.5, 104.9 degrees Fahrenheit. 105, we'll call it. We'll round up by 0.1. 105 degrees. Yeah, that was hot. Right, Paul Fane. Good evening, everyone. Don't forget to hit the like button. Indeed, please do hit the like button. It does help. It gets the news spread far and wide. So it's all good. Chris Freemesser, not held up here. 77 was as hot as we got today. Well, you're just showing off. Man, there was. I don't think it got even overnight. It didn't get down to 77. I don't think. I was up and at it fairly early this morning. What was the low? No, 76 was actually the low, like something like 4 in the morning or something this morning. So yeah. Barracuda, it's here for 9 degrees Celsius here. That's a little chilly. Paul Funk's 102. Yeah, that's hot. Jeff Hutchins, only low 70s, only high 70s, low 80s in Oregon for the next week. Yeah, it's meant to cool down here a little, like back into the 80s, high 80s, but 80s. David Tyree knew a good-sized earthquake in Japan. Oh, was there really? There was a good one in New Zealand too, from what I saw. A pretty strong one that was relatively shallow. That rattled a few houses. Interesting, because I think we're on the same fault line, aren't we? Do we share that with Japan or not? No, it's probably too far away. I know we're on a fault line with the Pacific Islands and stuff. Chris Freemesser, damn right I'm showing off, as I have zero to show off once winter hits us. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. You can always put on another pair of long johns, though, can't you? It's, like they people get a bit funny when you take too much stuff off in the heat, especially in the workshop. Yeah, it's never a good look. The LVG, thanks for all the advice on squaring away the idle bog on the 60 T-bird. Open the idle needles 3/4 of a turn and all good. There you go. So it was a little lean. Okay. Very good. Very good. It was relatively simple. Beagle Bob, hey, welcome along, bud. Good to have you here. David Tyree, yep, Ring of Fire. Yeah, I thought it was part of it, yeah. Old Timer, welcome along, bud. Good to have you here. All right. So, what's everyone been doing to their cars? We can at least, we should start out the evening trying to talk about cars. Even if we kind of, devolve into who knows what, Beagle Bob's tomatoes or something. Chris Freemesser, Barracuda, 9 degrees Celsius is comfy. Yeah, it's a little cold. It's not T-shirt weather, but yeah, it could definitely get colder. Beagle Bob, I've been looking at mine out the window, hiding in the AC for the most part. Yeah, I'll bet. Barracuda 9 is horrible. Yeah, it's a little chilly. Brad Eastman, hey Kiwi, it's been cold in the mornings here, single digits and below zero. Cold enough to freeze the nuts off a brass monkey. So, all our trivia nuts here. What does it actually mean? Freezing? Who knows? I know. I don't know why I know, but I do. What's the deal with freezing the nuts off? Sorry, the balls off a brass monkey. Where did that originate? Let's see who else knows. Old timer, I managed to scrape and dent my aluminum F-150 bed. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. Danny Boyd, welcome along. I put 4-pile Blue Label 6x8 3-way speakers in my Mustang today. Fit right in the factory locations. Nice. Well done. Well done. Paul Funk, what's the rarest car that anyone in here has driven? That's a good question. I did drive a, gosh, what year was it? It was 50-something. It's not very specific, is it? But a Packard, it was a 3-barrel name, Packard something Caribbean, which was convertible Packard with the auto leveling suspension and tricolor exterior and tricolor interior. That was a pretty rare car. So that one, and honestly, that 340 Cuda, that triple carb one, which was only made didn't make very many of those, and it, for the racing, it was like a homologation special. That tri-power, that 340 Challenger that I had in the shop that was on 7 1/8 cylinders. That's probably 2 of the rarer ones. What else? That Imperial convertible that I drove a while back. There was not a lot of those around. A few more of the sedans, but not many convertibles were made. Yeah. Now, Pickle Bob, since you brought it up, my tomatoes are about all gone to disease. Oh, that sucks, man. That's frustrating. Chris Freeman, Barracuda, how do you say don't be a wuss and marry? That's a good question. I don't actually know. But Barracuda will probably know. Buddy Caro, vintage air, best thing I put in my car, making driving on hot days much better. Yep, I couldn't agree more. Chavo, hey, mate, how you doing? Hey, folks, kind of cold here, I'm guessing you're going to say, but local cell tower is down. Getting about 5 kb slower than the dial-up used to be. Oh, wow. Hey, Tavo, did you get that email I sent you, bud? I did respond to you, man. Chris Free mess of Tavo, and we'll talk really slow to you. There you go. Paul Funk, me 62 Ferrari G250 GT Series 2 Cabriolet. Ooh, that's a nice car. That's a nice car. Yeah. Ah, here we go. Barracuda. Harden up, cuz. Yep. That would be a merry way to say it, yeah. Now, what do we got? Jimmy James. Good evening, Kiwi. I'm wondering if you've had any experience with British Leyland products. I recently purchased a 68 Triumph Spitfire. So far, no electrical problems. Well, you're one of the few, aren't you? Lucas Electronics. How were they ever a functioning, presumably even slightly profitable company? But hey, they were. Yeah, I've had a bit of experience with Leyland stuff in my Kiwi days. It's pretty hard to grow up around cars in New Zealand without running into some British Leyland stuff. And my first job actually out of school was at, Motor Corporation, New Zealand Motor Corporation, and, which was all the minis and Land Crabs, Austin Morris 1300s and 1100s and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, yeah, a little bit. Spitfires weren't really around that much at that point. But, yeah, I mean, Triumph Spitfires, just a Triumph Herald with a sports car body. So, yeah, pretty straightforward. Danny Boyd, I've driven an 81 Yenko Turbo Z Camaro Z28, just up into a service bay, but still, hey, you drove it. Nobody said for how long, so, 81 Yenko Turbo Z Camaro. That would be a fairly rare car, yeah. Beagle Bob got there. Yeah, that just shot up the page. Wow, I got behind already. That's a bit slack. Beagle Bob, got the temp motor out of my friend's SS sedan, thinking a wrist pin wallowed out its hole or something. Got the temp motor out of my... Oh, yeah. Thinking a wrist pin wallowed out its hole or something. Piston hit the head. Going to be putting together the original soon. Okay, there you go. SS, so that'll be an LS then. I'm assuming. Yeah, probably shouldn't assume, but SS sedan, that could be a few different cars, I guess. Chris Freemesser, Tavo. Would you believe I've sourced a case of Tim Tams? A case of Tim Tams. Wow. Now I'm jealous. LVG, 53 Jaguar Mark 7. Yep, that's a fairly rare car these days. Cool old car. Brad Eastman, Shelby, Cobra Daytona, 1 of 9 apparently. Wow. Nice. Good for you, buddy. Yeah, that's something to put away in the memory banks, isn't it? Yeah, they were very, very, very rare. Here we go. Mr. Hutchins knows the story. Freezing the balls off a brass monkey. The rack they piled the cannonballs on was a monkey. Many were made of brass. When it froze, the brass would contract and the cannonballs would fall off. Yes, that's exactly right. Well done. Yes. So your prize for that will be to be determined. Old timer. Anyone ever seen a 1961 Callison J5 Astra? I have not. I have no idea what that is. Driveway of Misfits, enjoy. Yeah, a case of Tim Tams. Oh, that sounds like a diabetic event waiting to happen, doesn't it? Danny Boyd, I've also driven a Studebaker Avanti. Yep, I've had one of those in the shop up into probably the same bay, same shop. Oh, there you go. Yeah, well, did I drive that thing, Avanti? No, I don't think I did. It was a rust bucket. It was bad. It was a rusty rust bucket. We just did a little bit to it, and then it was like, see ya. He was selling it. Guess where he sold it? A really, really rusty Studebaker Avanti. And guess where he sold it? I'll have to scroll down and see if anyone gets this one right. Chris Freeman, Tavo, are they truly Australia's favourite chocolate biscuit as it says on the pack? That's a good question. Probably, yeah. Barracuda, I used to ride motorcycles in all weather, ice, snow, rain, hail. I've changed a lot since then. Yeah, you've grown a few extra brain cells, I would say. Ice and hail on a motorbike? No. Josh Homan, welcome along. Good to have you here. Very popular, Chris. Maybe not the absolute best. Ooh, I don't know. Jeff Hutchins, I've heard that hell was wired by Lucas. Yes, and Lucas generators running the power supply. Freemesser. Barracuda, I'll tell you the same thing I tell my aged friends up in Detroit. Put on a shawl. Ooh. That's cutting. Old timer. I suppose the nicest car I've ever driven was a 66 427 single 4-barrel 4-speed vet, 46,000 original miles. That would be a nice car. 427 4-speed. Yes, nice. Actually, right as of today, or as of yesterday, it came in actually. I got a 67 vet with the 327 350 horse 4-speed. Nice little car. Got to put a carburetor kit on it. It's gushing fuel everywhere that it shouldn't. So it does run, but only kind of. So we've got to put a carburetor kit through it and see if that fixes it, which I suspect it probably will. So just a bit of a tune-up, really. But, looking forward to driving that. The 327 was, that's a nice, good little motor, the 350 horse. I haven't driven a 427. I've driven the later model, like a 71 454 4-speed, and that was underwhelming, like disappointing. It had some torque and it had some grunt, but it wasn't like, damn. I really thought it'd be like, I was like, woohoo, this will be awesome. But it wasn't awesome. And around a similar time to that, I had a black, I think it was a 63 vet roadster with a 327. I'm not sure the horsepower one, but it was like an HO. That thing was lively. It would have comfortably run, and I'm pretty sure outrun the big block, the 454. I don't know whether there was an issue with the 454 or what, but it was just underwhelming. Right. Carvo, just reading the email now. Oh, good one, mate. Good on you, mate. Chris Freeman said, well, they are tasty and delightful. Most definitely. Yeah. Paul Funk, most overrated car someone has driven, me, 84 Corvette with 25,000 original miles. Biggest rattle trap piece of shit. 84 Corvette, yeah. I'm not shocked. Yeah. That 80s wasn't the heyday of American automotive excellence. It really wasn't. The 80s, things were it wasn't like the good old days. It's say in 84, or the cars, the mid 80s cars I've driven are all like, Steve Billings, welcome along. So, hey, bud, you must have seen some nice kit cars. What's some of the top ones? Kit cars, not that many kit cars, honestly. Not really, no. Kit cars. I've seen one in my time, Cobra kit car. That was nice. And it's a customer. He's been a customer for a long, long time, like 13, 14 years. And I can't remember the name of who made the chassis, but it's got a Jag rear end in it. And it's just, I don't know. It's got a 351 Windsor in it, which is tweaked up a little, so it's quite lively and really nice, tight, doesn't rattle, everything opens and closes properly, gets good traction, is very, very user friendly, like it doesn't want to bite you. Some of the other Cobra kit cars I've driven, they just want to hurt you. They just want to, like, the back wants to, get ahead of the front, and you're just always like waiting for it to, bite you. A shawl, a barracuda, a shawl's like a big ass scarf. What little old ladies used to wrap around their shoulders and, on over their head a bit and over their shoulders, like a rug almost. So not that wasn't a flattering comment, Barracuda. Just saying that's like He's implying that you're being a bit of an old woman, is what he's saying, if I'm not mistaken. And Chris, feel free to correct me on that. But hey, Danny Boyd, if anyone has driven 83 Mustang GT convertibles are rare, under 1,000, or maybe it's the non-GT, I forget by now. Actually, those Fox body Mustangs weren't bad, were they, for an 80s machine? They weren't bad. They weren't like super fast, but they were pretty competent. You know, the 5.0s were pretty competent, but good handling. Good handling for a Mustang. Mustangs haven't always been renowned for their handling, but those Fox bodies actually handled pretty well. Chris Freemus at Costco had the Tim Tams. Nice. So you bought a whole box. Good for you, man. Beagle Bob, Chevy badge Commodore. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what I was thinking it must have been. Chris Freemus, a Barracuda, unfamiliar with shawls. Yeah, he is, clearly. Josh Hammond, most cars in 84 were rattle trap rust buckets. So the Corvette is not to be unexpected. No. Jeff Hutchins, as a kid, I had a neighbour who had a 67 Vet convertible 4-speed 427 6-barrel. Wow. He bought it new and put on dual 4 barrels. Still had the 6-barrel intake on the wall. I drove home from the to be continued. And Dr. Art's in the house. There you go. Old timer, do yourselves a favour and Google 61 Callison J5 Astra. I'm going to do that as soon as I catch up on the comments. Barry Cooter, I think I was probably wrapped in one about 60 years ago. You probably were too. Dr. R, what's the glue you suggest for gluing headliners in, putting one in the Falcon this week? Landau Top Glue. West something. What's the brand of it? It's in a black and kind of greeny, like ducky blue coloured can. God, I can't remember the name of it now. They make a few different contact glues, but it's called Landau Top Glue, and that is the stuff you need to use. Don't do it with aerosol can glue. It won't stay. It just won't. Been there, done that, tried it, doesn't work. Yeah, weldwood, something like that. Not Willwood, weldwood, something weld. I can't remember. But look up Landau Top Glue, and it should pop straight up. Where did we go? Barracuda. Shawl is a usually knitted cape wrap for old women to wear. Yep, that's the one. Barracuda, why don't people wear capes anymore? I guess Superman's gone out of fashion, hasn't he? David Tyree, according to experts, the origin story of the brass balls is a myth, as it would have been dangerous to store cannonballs that way on a ship. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the story I'd heard, but like as to its validity, who knows, read it on the internet, so it must be true, right? Jeff Hutchins, let's just carry on from there. He drove it home from the homecoming game in it. They used to illegally race from Sweet Home, Oregon to Bend, Oregon and back for time. You had to go to a cafe in South Bend, get a receipt for the coffee to prove you were there. Oh, wow. That's a race. It sounds like it anyway. Not that I actually know where Sweet Home, Oregon to Bend, Oregon. How far is that? That sounds like quite a race. Barracuda, you might be more familiar with old ladies than I am. That could be true. Oh, God, I hope Mrs. K isn't listening to this. You might be in trouble. She might take that the wrong way, mate. Here we go. Barracuda, no, but maybe more familiar with guys. Chris Freemason, no, but maybe more familiar with guys who complain like them. Yeah. Oh dear. Be nice to each other, guys. Come on. If you Google Angel 566 Corvette, I drove that car. Norm was a friend. Okay. Angel 5. Alrighty. 84 would have been the first model year of the C4 Corvette. Didn't they have some sort of 1 year only half-assed fuel injection system on? 84, was that weird spider? I think they called it or nicknamed it a spider setup. And I saw one on a Trans Am that was like an 80s like kit type Trans Am. And you took the airplane and you could actually see the fuel squirting. It was a weird. They had this spidery looking thing that squirted the fuel down and like above the intake manifold. It was the craziest thing I'd ever seen. Yeah, it was weird, but it would definitely fit it under the half-assed fuel injection on it. Yeah. Jeff Hutchins, it's normally about a 2-hour drive over the Cascades on highway, which is a nasty pass. He told me his best time, but I don't remember it. He died of old age about 5 years ago. Wow. Okay. Well, that's sad, but at least the pass didn't get him. So, Buddy Caro, 80 Trans Am with the Oldsmobile 403 gutless peak. Some of them really were, weren't they? Jeff Hutchins, he had a shop full of collectible GM cars and trucks. His lifelong live-in girlfriend had a 65 convertible 327 4-speed Vet. Well, that's almost the car I've got, except it's a 67. So, but yeah, 327 4-speed. Tavo, did you get the Purvis Eureka kit car in New Zealand? Yes, we did, and I've never ever worked on one. I have seen them from a distance, but that's it. Never even been up close and personal with one. Quite a neat little kit car, actually. The whole roof section lifted up and off, which was a problem if it ever went upside down. You couldn't get out. And I think that's what finished it off. It had some safety issues. Paul Funk, is that what it was? Crossfire injection? Chris Freemies, I'm just taking the piss out of you taking the piss with you. It's taking the piss out of you, not with you. It's taking the piss out of somebody. So I know it doesn't make sense, but hey, it's just something we say. Jeff Hutchins, he also bought an 84 Vet. When they came out, I had like 5,000 miles on it. Wow. Steve Billings, Kiwi, I've got a stunning old 67 Pontiac Tempest Le Mans in the shed. Fresh rebuild 326 hearse. I love the old thing. Why wouldn't you? That's a cool car. 326. Tempest, quite a compact car. That'd be nice, man. And I still say 67 was the best year. If you take in all the cars that were made in America, all the different ones, I do think 67 was the best year they had. They just seem to all make a lot of really nice cars. The Camaro came out, the 67 Mustang, the most popular Mustang they ever made. It's a 67, obviously. But yeah, lots of them, lots of awesome cars, lots of nice 67 Mopars. Yeah, I think it was a great year for the American automotive industry. Andrew Wire, Foray. Andrew Foray? No, hang on. Andrew, I'm trying to read that. Andrew here. Sorry, probably mispronounced that. One of those attempts will probably be close. What are you going to do? Just discovered your channel in the last week or so. Very informative as we are in the market to buy a 65 to 68 Mustang. It's good to know what areas around the car to look for issues. Yep. Well, you'll see it all on the channel, obviously. If you watch the videos, I get such a lot of Mustangs through the shop, and the ratio of not good ones to good ones is a little lopsided. It has to be said. It's quite a lot lopsided. But Mustangs were very popular and they were beat to death. They were not an expensive car for a long time. You could pick up, a Mustang fastback for under $1,000 at one point. They just were. They were the sort of car you bought for your teenager. When it was a 18-year-old Mustang, and you just let the teenager, the first car, and let them kill it and buy them another one. But so a lot of them took a real beating. But yeah. Andrew here, living in Waimate, South Canterbury. Nice. It's nice down there. We've got a few Southerners, mainlanders, that jump into the live and obviously follow the channel. Chris Freemesser, West Systems. West Systems? What's West Systems? Not sure what you're talking about there. Weldwood. Beagle Bob, Weldwood, I think. Yeah, I think it is Weldwood. It just seemed too close to Willwood. And I'm thinking, Weldwood, was that right? I think it is Weldwood, though. And Dr. Art's got it. Okay. Cool. That's the shit to buy, though. I'm not sure whether you can buy it in quart cans. I usually buy it in gallon cans. But it's what you got to have. Now, Barracuda, I'm not here to engage in rancor. Ooh. I just wanted to use the word rancor. They stored cannonballs in other places on land too. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it probably wouldn't have been the best thing on a boat, but maybe that's just how the myth evolved. David Torrey, I knew 2 teachers that used to race to the pub after school. Mate, I'd need to go to the pub after spending a day and teaching little horror story children. Yeah, that'd drive me to drink too. Chris Freemesser, no rancor here, just some good-natured New York ball busting. Yes. Barracuda, it wasn't directed at you, Kiwi, but that fella to the north. There you go. Yes, he is a little to the north. Barracuda, do you spell it rancor up there? Yeah, they might too. Yeah, they do. They do like to drop the U's out of things. So yeah, maybe they do. Like colour. COLOR here. Chris Freeman, yes, it's spelled rancor here with an O. Yeah, makes sense. Good Lord. Barracuda 67 Tempest, beautiful. I always like the 65 too. Yep, they're all good. Michael Pagliarini, welcome along. Once you get the hang of that surname, it's quite cool to say it actually, Pagliarini. I think I'm saying it right. Hope I am. Paul Funk, the 84 Corvette was owned by a retired firefighter and he traded a 69 RS Camaro with a 350 and I couldn't understand why. Good grief. No. Oh, imagine if yeah. I know which one's worth, 4 times as much now? Oh, easily. Especially if it was an RS. The 84 Corvettes aren't worth much at all. So the Camaro definitely stood the test of time. The Corvette failed. Chris Freeman, a Barracuda, where I come from, if we're taking the piss out of you, it's because we like you. Hey, it's the same in New Zealand, mate. Don't you worry. If you're in our group and we're not doing that, it's not a good sign. There you go. That just means you're getting ignored because you're a dickhead. So, yeah, if people are poking fun at you or taking the piss, or then, yeah, that's like your passing grade. 1970, great year for muscle cars. Yeah, well, it wasn't like and when I say 67, that's just my pick. And it's not like every other year was terrible. I just like the vast majority of cars in 67 out of America, I thought were particularly nice. 70. Yeah, muscle cars, absolutely. But, it's not one of those statements that is absolutely right or absolutely wrong. It's just what you like, Now, Chris Freeman said West Systems made epoxy products. Thought that might have been who you were referring to. Oh, okay. No, it was Weldwood. Pretty sure it was Weldwood. Weldwood, and Dr. Art just texted me and said, "Hey, he found it." So it must have. I'd say that was the case. Barracuda had a wallaby pie, Andrew. Oh no, well, he might have. I've never had one. Jeff Hutchins, he was a Vietnam vet. So I think he lived life his way to the fullest after he got home. He was the M in Ram Trucking. Merlin Miller was his name. Oh, wow. He let me build my Camaro in his shop. Great guy. Cool story. He was the M in Ram Trucking. Wow. That's a title. Andrew here. Yes, I have the Burn and Wemo. Used to sell them. Not bad, but I still prefer Jimmy's pies. What the heck is? Yes, I have the Burn and Wemo. Used to sell them. Not bad, but still prefer Jimmy's pie. I'm not familiar with the Burn and Wemo. What the heck? The Barn and Waimati. Just read the next line down. Good grief. The Barn and Waimati. Okay. Jeff Hutchins. Driveway of Misfits. I tell my customers, if I get to know you and I don't treat you like crap, it's because I don't like you. I only harass the ones I love. There you go. It's kind of a weird thing, isn't it? It's a guy thing, I think. Barracuda. Unlike most, I've never thought much of Jimmy's pies. I find them to be greasy and they make me feel queasy. Well, if you put your shawl on, Barracuda, you probably would take away the queasy feeling if you just wore your shawl when you were eating them. That would be my advice. Tavo, if you get a chance, guys, please drop in on Uncle Brent's shed on his platform. Lives in the same general area as me, similar type of stuff, just much better. He dropped over for a visit Monday. Okay, cool. I will try and do that. Please drop on Uncle Brent's shed on this platform. YouTube, Uncle Brent's shed. Okay. Michael Pagliarini. Yes, you say it better than most people. Most of my friends just call me Pags. Yeah, well, that's certainly quicker. It's not a surname that I've am familiar with from my New Zealand days. But it's pretty cool. Paul Funk, 70 is my favourite year as well. There you go. Mark the Coronet and more guy. Hi, Kiwi, and all you Mopar lovers. There you go. Mike Oxlong, welcome along. Good evening, everyone. You seem to be having trouble with names tonight, Kiwi. Oh, mate, it's just, this is heat. It fries my brain. It was hot today, man. It was literally 105 degrees at the shop. It was a little bit cooler in the shop, but not much. Not much at all. It's brutal. You're just wet. Like, you're wet from about 9 a.m. till when you leave. And it does wear you out. That and the bourbon, the heat and the bourbon, put those two together and it's like, talking shorthand by the end of the evening. So just have to bear with me, Buddy Caro, tyres 8 years old, only have 5,000 miles on them. Should I replace them? Well, strictly speaking, it's 10 years. The window is 10 years. So in theory, you've got 2 years to go. If they've been out in the sun for 8 years, I would be a little concerned because the UV in the sun eats up the rubber and the different oils and stuff that are in the rubber and dries them out. Hence the name dry rot. But if they've lived a fairly sheltered life as far as being out of the sun, it's not so much about what sort of roads you drive on, but it's more the sun just kills tyres. So yeah, if they've been out of the sun as much as, more than they've been in it, shall we say, then I think you should be fine. And you can probably, in theory, go a little bit beyond 10 years. You're just not going to be able to get anyone to work on them. Like the tyre shops won't even put air in them. So that's the problem. If you need them balanced, if you need them rotated, if you need them a puncture fix, they won't touch them unless it's some back street. Flying under the radar type outfit. Some of the second-hand places that sell tyres for next to nothing on Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that, they would probably work on them because they won't get sued. Because you're not going to sue a place like that because they got nothing to sue. They got no money to get. So, but yeah, once they go much past 10 years, I'd be replacing them. That 67 Vet I've got in the shop today has got tyres from 2010. And they've done 4,000 miles. So yeah, we're going to replace those because he's got a vibration in it, and he says he's got a vibration in it between 90. This is a true story. He's an old guy, older than me. He's got a vibration between 90 and 100, and I'm like, yeah. Well, I said I can't help you with that because I'm not going to go and do 90 mile an hour on 17-year-old tyres in someone else's car. It's like, no, or anybody's, my own car, no. Convertible, like, a Corvette Roadster, no. So we get new tyres for that one. It's just like they're red line tyres, those Silvertown red lines. So, they're expensive, but so he grumbled and groaned a bit, didn't want to do it, and it's like, you're cool. But he heeded my advice, and it's like, it's $1,500 for tyres. But yeah, I had one front tyre come apart on a C3 Vet, and it did $9,000 worth of damage. $9,000. So $1,500 of tyres, or potentially $9,000 or more. That's kind of a best case scenario, because if you can't hang on to it when the tyre lets go, it can be a lot worse than $9,000. Chris Freemess, are the tyres cracked at all? Barracuda, no. Jeff Hutchins, another long story. I started my gun shop when I was 24. My girlfriend, then girlfriend, now wife, was in college. She would stop at my shop after school and do homework at a table in the shop. Then I'd follow her home since she lived next door. Here we go. Sounds like a stalker to me. After a few days, she said, "Man, your customers don't like you." That was news to me, so I asked her what she meant. She said, "You guys are mean to each other." Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's how it works. The ladies don't really get it, but we do, so that's all that counts. David Torrey, the Heat, what's your excuse the rest of the year? Okay, so you're giving me shit. So that, according to our theory of relativity, with comments, that must mean you actually like me in the show. So I'll take that. Yeah, and as for the excuse the rest of the year, cheers. That's my excuse. Buddy Caro, car garage kept, no cracks. You'll be fine. I wouldn't rush out to replace them, but it's probably, it could well be something that you're forced to do at some point, just because you won't get anyone to work on them. Paul Funk, crazy engine swap you would do just to piss off a group of people. Me, Coyote swap, the most overrated Mopar Oh, 69 Charger. Oh, I had to take a breath then just to read that. Oh my goodness, the internet would melt down. Mopar people would be just apoplectic. Like they would. Wow. Yeah, that would be a brutal one for sure. For sure. The Mustang guys are kind of not really used to it, but they're used to people putting Chevy, LSs and shit into Mustangs. It's not that, they do bitch and moan about it, but it's not. You don't get that huge a reaction. I did at one point see a guy who put a Ferrari V8 into a Mustang. I thought that was kind of cool. And then I saw someone who put a Mustang did a body swap with a first gen Mustang onto a Honda Accord front wheel drive, like 2.2 liter or something. And I'm like, why would you do all that to make it a four banger front wheel drive? And that didn't make me angry, but it just made me shake my head. It's like, that's crazy. But Paul Funk, that's there would be a lot of Mopar fans losing their mind. Tavo, I have 8-year-old tires, it's spelt two ways, that have been stacked in the corner of the shed, never been fitted, brought them for a project car when I thought I'd have it done way back. There you go. Mate, is that a 10-year rule in Australia as well? Will they, maybe 2 years, you may not be able to find anyone to mount them, which would suck. Jeff Hutchins, her home since she lived in. Oh, okay. Sorry, I've already read that one. Jeff Hutchins, I said, you're just a girl, you don't get it. Wow, that's quite the pickup line, isn't it? You're just a girl, you don't get it. And she still married you. Wow, I'm impressed. Yes, some females would not take kindly to that comment. Chris Freemas, the tyres on my Beetle are 8 years old, but its garage tyres are still in great shape. Yeah, I mean, they should be too. They should be. 8 years 10 years is a little tough, but the powers that be, and I'm not quite sure who they are, whether it's the lawmakers or the tyre makers or what, but they're having to pick a number based on an unknown history of the tyre. So I guess a worst case scenario, if they have seen a lot of sun, 10 years is it. So they have to say 10 years. Because they can't say if it's been garaged, you can be 15, because who knows if it's really been garaged. So I guess they just have to put an arbitrary 10 years on it and be on the safe side. Andrew here, would you say the Mustang in New Zealand to be in better condition as the regulations around compliance at the border when importing them into New Zealand is set high? Any issues found need fixed before issuing a New Zealand rego? Absolutely. Yep. You're absolutely right. Like on average, like across a lot of Mustangs, the condition of the Mustangs in New Zealand would be well above what it is here, because a huge amount of the repairs done on the local Mustangs, would not pass compliancing in New Zealand. The partial floor pans, the half chassis rails, and the list goes on. You would just not fly in New Zealand. So the ones that are on the road and complied and warranted in New Zealand are going to be in better condition. That's just a fact of life, but you also got to pay more for them. So, The other Mustangs that are good in New Zealand are the ones that have been in New Zealand for a long time. And when I first started working on Mustangs here, it struck me that like some of the repairs that I just kept seeing time after time. And I'm like, why would people do this to a Mustang? Like, why would they do such poor quality repairs on a Mustang? And the difference was that here, like I was saying a bit earlier, you could buy a Mustang for $600. You could buy fastbacks for $1,000, $1,200, because they weren't valuable cars. So they were treated like that. They were repaired. You're not going to do a $5,000 rust repair on a $1,200 Mustang. That did not make sense. You just didn't do that. You just pot riveted in a couple of old license tags and kept on driving. But the Mustangs that were in New Zealand from an early age were always coveted. There was never a time in my recollection of a Mustang in New Zealand that wasn't coveted, that wasn't like, ooh, a Mustang. They were always special. They never had that low point in their lives, in the life of the car, where it was just, that old piece of shit over in the corner of the yard, who wants that? The Mustang was always wanted. Same with the Camaros too. I'm not just singing the praises of Mustang. Any of those American muscle type cars in New Zealand, they never had a low point. They never had a low point. So they were always, looked after, repaired. If they needed repairing, they were repaired well, typically. If you can find a Mustang in New Zealand that's been in New Zealand a long time, and I mean a long time, that's usually a pretty darn good car. Pop's Mustang. 30 years ago, I used to drive by a 68 fastback sitting in a driveway. Every day going to work, I would look and want that. Nobody would pay him the $1,000 he wanted for it. I bought it. Good for you, man. $1,000. I mean, I guess, $1,000 was a lot more 30 years ago, but I wonder what it is in today's terms. It's not $1,000 from 30 years ago was, I don't know, what is it? Is it 10 grand today? The equivalent of? Tell you what, if you stuck a for sale sign on a 68 fastback for 10 grand, Jesus, there'd be a riot. There'd be like 15 people trying to pay you at the same time. Barracuda, a motorcycle channel tested 10-year-old racing tyres, stored well on a track, and said there was nothing wrong with them. Interesting. I would have thought they'd have gotten a bit hard. Well, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with them, though, does it? I guess yeah, I'm sure they got the job done. I wonder if they had the lap times in them that are fresh, new one, like fresh out of the mold. Would that have been a second a lap or something quicker because of just a little bit more grip? I wonder. I don't know. I really don't know. Okay. Chris Freemesser, Pop's Mustang Shop, 68 VW fastback. No, I don't think he was talking about a VW, Chris. I know your world revolves around those two letters, and that's okay. But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure he meant a Mustang. Best of given he's called Pop's Mustang Shop, I'm guessing. But I'm sure he can confirm or deny that. Tavo, I had a 3-year-old tyre delaminate on the front of the Transit. I sneeze. At 65 mile an hour, steering wheel felt like one went out of balance. Got worse over the next mile or so until I just had to stop. Okay. Wow, lucky it didn't just pop. Yeah, they get very weird and out of round when they start delaminating, don't they? That would have been shaken like a mother trucker, I would think. David Torrey, you can always tell a good mate. They laugh when you break a leg, then ask if you're okay. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. PT Dave, hey, 67 fastback here from Ontario, Canada. Keep up the great videos. Will do. That's what I try to do. Yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for dropping in tonight. Good to have you here. Paul Funk. I know that's why I would do it. Okay, not sure what that one's referring to. Tavo, that's true. David Tyrant. Yeah. Yeah. Now, Jeff Hutchins, I'd put a 413 max wedge into an AC Cobra. Yeah, that would. Yeah, I'm not sure how. I think that would certainly turn some heads. I don't think people would be quite as hostile as that. Yeah, the Coyote and a Charger. I don't think that would be quite as bad. Paul Funk, Mike Finnegan has a 2JZ swap 69 Charger. Oh, wow. Yeah. It's a good way to get views on YouTube. It is. You're going to get some hate for it, but hates are still clicks, It's how many people watch it that pay the money, not whether they love you or hate you. It's just how many people watch. Jeff Hutchins, I'm going to put a 440 and a 77 F250 four-wheel drive four-speed someday. That'd be an interesting one. Do you remember that Hemi, that 392 Hemi I put in it wasn't a 77, it was like a 69, I think, F150 or F100. That was kind of out there. That was different. Tavo, the upsellers here freak out seeing 5-year-old tyres on cars. Oh, really? A lot of people takes them at least 5 years to wear them out. 5 years old is not old. Good Lord. Buddy Cara, putting electric motor in a Boss 429 Mustang would upset a few people. Oh, yeah, it would. It would. Yeah, Boss, if it was just a regular fastback Mustang, then it wouldn't be so bad. It's been done. But a Boss 429, that would be a way to throw a lot of money away because those cars are valuable, man. They're high dollar, and you would just destroy the value. Yeah, that would upset some people. Brad Eastman, I've almost finished reassembly on the engine for my 52 Plymouth. I'm going to reuse the head bolts. Do you think that would be fine? Low compression engine. Yeah, I think it would be fine. 52 Plymouth, they had a flathead? Probably a flathead 6, right? Yeah, as you say, low compression engine. They were just built differently then. Yeah, unless there's corrosion on them. You got some bad pitting somewhere on the shank of the bolt. It'd be absolutely fine. You can go again and again and again on those old engines. As soon as you try and get interesting with them and pull a bit more horsepower out of them, then you've got to reassess the situation. But if that is the flathead 6, I mean, that made very little horsepower anyway. You could almost self-tapping screw the head down and keep a head gasket on it, So, yeah, you won't have a problem at all. Jeff Hutchins, Paul Funk, I was going to mention that car as the most offensive engine swap ever. He's never going to convince me that doesn't suck. I mean, he's probably yeah. I mean, he's done it for views. It's I'm sure of that. Has he done it because he just always wanted to do that and he's in love with that Toyota engine? No, he's done it for shits and giggles. And yeah, Tavo, Ford Barra 6 and Aussie Valiants divides the community. 10% cheer it on, the other 90% disown them. Yeah, I can see that, especially in Australia. I mean, I'm somewhat reticent to say this, Tavo, but I do think the Ford Barra engine is better than the 245, 265 Hemi. I think you probably acknowledge that. I don't think you're so Mopar one-eyed, but maybe I'm wrong. I'll see what sort of reply I get to this one. But would I put one in? Would I put a Barra in a Valiant? No. Look, if it was a non-event, some unloved particular model, but mind you, even four-door sedans are very popular, aren't they, in Aussie? Which Yeah, no reason they shouldn't be, really. They're just four-door sedans are not popular here in the States. But yeah, I mean, it's like imagine putting a Barra into a Pacer, like a real Pacer, or an E49 Charger or something. I mean, that would just be sacrilege, and a really good way to throw money away. Barracuda, years ago while in Dunedin, I bought a pair of Chinese Blue Streak tyres for the front of my VK Commodore. They were so bad the steering felt dangerous. Oh, Lord. Blue Streak, don't remember those. Jeff Hutchins, Brad Eastman, those head bolts won't be a problem at all. Yeah, I don't think so either. Mike Oxon, she said it is, and she's right. Okay, what are you referring to there? I missed a comment. What? Oh, wait, I'm not sure what she said it is, and she's right. What are you talking about? Barracuda. So I got the shop to put those wheels on the rear for the drive home. I probably should have asked for my money back. Yeah, but hard to get money back on mounted tyres. Well, mounted tyres maybe not, but once they've run on the road, you'd be hard pressed. Here we go. Chris Freemus, $1,000 30 years ago is $2,128 today. Wow. You can't even buy the roof of a fastback Mustang for $2,000 anymore, let alone the whole car. So, yeah, they've gone up exponentially, haven't they? Jeff Hutchins, that's what I figured about double. I thought it would be a bit more than that, to be honest, over 30 years. I'm sure paychecks have more than doubled in 30 years, haven't they? Interesting. I thought it would have been a bit more than that. That's why I came up with the number 10,000. But hey, clearly I'm wrong again. Barracuda, they actually said the old tyres perform just as well as their new ones. There you go. Tavo, I definitely have a VW fastback. Finding one is another thing. Indeed. Brad Eastman, I'd say the classic car most people seem to want over here now are 60s Impalas. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry seem to have one. Okay. Yeah, they're popular here. The early 60s ones, like the bubble tops particularly, are very popular. But 60 through 66 would be the popular window. 67s was quite a change in body shape. I like a 67 Impala, especially the fastback. But I had a sedan years ago as like a teenager. So it kind of, it's funny. Like when you've owned one of these cars before, it gives you a connection, like a lifelong connection to them at some level. But yeah, I would say here, popularity-wise, it would be 60 through 66. And then 67 seems to nose over. Chris Freemus, the worst. Oh, let's shut up the page. Now, here we go. Chris Freemus, the worst tyre I ever bought were Chinese-made Cooper snow tyres. Hard as a rock, crappy snow traction. A hard snow tyre? Well, that's a bit ass backwards, isn't it? Bass backwards, whatever they say. Yeah, snow tyres are meant to be really soft. Pop's Mustang, not Pop's VW shop. Yes, that's right. You tell him, buddy. You tell him. Beagle Bob, hate for a coyote. Question mark. Imagine a 4-banger EcoBoost in a Charger. Ooh. Marginally better than a Honda Accord engine, I suppose. Marginally, if at all. Yes. No. Yeah, no. Andrew here. We have owned an 81 Alfa Romeo Giulietta for 30 years now and no issues over that time. Wow. I also have been given Dad's Daimler Consort. Drive it every Saturday down to the farmer's market. 1951 Daimler Consort. I do not even know what that looks like, mate. Brad Eastman, horsepower out of a flathead 6. Tell me how. You put a bigger starter motor on it, buddy. That's how. You can double your horsepower with like a 3 horsepower starter motor. It's true. Oh, mate. My dad had a 59 Plymouth with the flathead 6 in it and 3-speed column change. And I was 14 or something like that. I was just in love with that car. It was a 4-door sedan, but you weren't like a 4-door sedan did not matter back, when you were 14 and it was a 59 Plymouth. The 2-door hardtops would have been even better, but that was just you only ever saw pictures of those in a book or a magazine, not in New Zealand. But yeah, that thing, it would go down the road, but no, you kind of had to send it a telegram if you wanted to accelerate. A little underwhelming, but just, from the eyes of a 14-year-old, just dripping cool. Just at the fins, the huge grille. Awesome car. But he sold it, and I wanted to buy it off him, but 1, I didn't have any money, and 2, it really wasn't a good first car for a. I think at 15 you got your license back then. Yeah, it was not a good first car. The reality was, but didn't stop me wanting it, like with a purple passion. Yeah. Chris Freemes, old Alphas are such lovely cars. Wish there were more of them here. Yeah, I'm really surprised that you went 30 years and no issues. That's very impressive for an Alpha. They do not get the best marks for reliability. And I think, Andrew, you'll probably concede that. But yeah, clearly, if you've had it 30 years and had no issues, you've looked after it. I would give yourself 10 out of 10 for that, because you must have looked after that car and done everything that you were supposed to do to it. So good for you. And I'm going to have to look up a Daimler Consort, because these days I don't catch many names that I've not heard before, and that's one of them. Paul Funk, I thought Mike bought the Charger already swapped. Oh, yeah, no idea. Jeff Hutchins, Paul Funk, changing spark plugs, putting in headers, changing exhaust manifolds might convince you a 440 in an A body stinks. Yeah. It's a bit of a squeeze, isn't it? It's a bit of a squeeze. Barracuda, years ago on my VH Valiant, I had an X2 BF Goodrich TAs, or ×2 BF Goodrich TAs and 2 Goodyear Eagles. They were so hard riding, I didn't enjoy driving it. I ended up putting cheap reed rubbers on it. Instant fix, nice and soft. Interesting. Reed rubber, that's a name I haven't heard for decades. Reed rubber. That was a very old tyre brand in New Zealand. I'll tell you, Barracuda, you'll remember this. It popped up on my feed, on my YouTube feed the other day. It was a New Zealand TV ad of the old Bow Repairs tyres, and it was Vince, and that song Along Came. They did it to that Along Came Jones, tall, long, lanky something Jones, but it was Vince. Along Came Vince. I'm sure you remember the ad, but that was a real blast from the past. It was a good ad. It was funny. It's probably only me and Brad and Barracuda going to even make any sense out of that last comment, but hey. Tavo, yeah, the Barra is definitely a much better Go Quick engine all round. It's just the brand cross-dressing thing. Yeah, and I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it at all. You can certainly make the 245s and 265 do everything you need them to. The 3 Webers on the side of a 265, pretty hard to beat that sound. Pretty hard to beat it. That induction, I prefer a really good strong induction noise over exhaust noise. Yeah, not that many cars have it, but those triple Webers gave it just an unbelievable induction noise, and it just screams horsepower like that. That induction sound when it really roars, it's like that's the sound of horsepower. Exhaust, you can take the muffler off a little, nasty little four banger and make a racket, but that doesn't say horsepower. But that induction noise, that's horsepower. Charles Dalton, Chucky, happy Tuesday, Wednesday. All sorry I'm late. My wife wanted to go for a walk. There you go. Yeah. Well, I hope she held your hand when you went for a walk, mate. That's all I can say. I hope she made it worth your while. Missing out on the company of all us, your crew here. That's a big deal. Hope she realises what a sacrifice she made. Jeff Hutchins, I'd take about my engines as a swap for a slant 6. I think there's only 3 of us Mopar nuts who don't like the slant 6. Yes, what's not to like about the slant 6? I mean, it's just a cool old engine. Unique, reliable as hell, went forever, decent amount of power. Yeah, what's not to like? So, Jeff, you're saying you don't like the slant 6. There's only 3 of us Mopar nuts who don't like the slant 6. Yeah, there you go. Andy Nickel, howdy all. Welcome along, bud. Good to have you here. Well, I wonder if you'd like the 245 and 265, which is not a slant 6. That's the American Hemi. The Australian Hemi. 6-cylinder straight 6. But that was a good engine. Not too dissimilar, I believe, to the 4-litre Jeep engine. I believe it shares some, I don't know how much, but some DNA. Hang on, let me shut up the page again. Buddy Cara, is it true the 6-cylinder Mustang was a 4-lug wheel and 8-cylinder a 5-lug? In the early ones, yes, that is true. Yes, it is. Absolutely. Paul Funk, or how about a Tesla-powered 69 Charger? Perish the thought. Andy Nichols slept through the first again. Oh, dear. You got to time those naps a bit better, mate. Oh, well, never mind. You're here now. That's all that counts. Tavo, RBA inflation calculus says roughly the same down under, 1K in 96, 2,100 now. Interesting. Oh, well, shows I'm wrong. Argue. Paul Funk, my boss and I built a 440 Duster bracket car, no fender wells. There, see, that makes life a lot easier. Josh Homan, a 4-banger EcoBoost isn't any good in any car. Hey, make some horsepower out of those little EcoBoosts, though. But, yeah, it's a 4-banger, so... Jeff Hutchins, I'm thinking Fox body, though. The 4-bangers were 4-lug, but maybe not every year. Yeah, I'm not sure on the Fox bodies. There's not a model that I've had a lot to do with. I know some of them were definitely 4 lugs, but I'm not sure whether that was the 4, the 6. I'm sure it wasn't the V8, but yeah, I'm not too sure about those. But the early ones, definitely. Tava, if you want real horsepower out of an early Plymouth, you just have to look at DDG's Taxi Perky. There you go. Yeah, stick a diesel in it. Yeah, nobody really gets upset about that, did they? That I've heard of. Yeah, put a 6.7 Cummins in it. 850 horsepower if you want it, or more. That'd be a quick Plymouth. Not sure you'd do it to a 69 Charger, though. Barracuda, in 1980, a shop put a new rear tyre on my 500 Yamaha. Riding through town after a while, turning a corner, the bike laid down horizontal, popped back up and did the same thing again. And then did the same thing again. It was wild. Good Lord, what caused that? Was there still silicon on the tyre or something? Now, Jeff Hutchins. Tavo, Perky is a monster, 0 to 60 sometimes. I like that. That's good. 0 to 60 sometimes. Oh, I haven't heard that one. That's very good. It was at a busy intersection. Must have looked incredible. I went back to the shop and they said, oh, yeah, they have soap on them from the mould. There you go. Chavo Perky, 0 to 60 requires a calendar. Oh, but think of what it could have. So you're keeping almost, the Mopar thing. If you put a 6.7 Ram engine in it, or Cummins engine, that's got some Mopar connections. Jeff Hutchins, I like the 20-ish-year-old Foster's beer commercials. I haven't seen those. Stephen Bunkybird, how you doing, man? Good to have you here. Brad Eastman, I have a similar story. When I got my license, my dad had an Austin A40 pickup with a 180B engine. Boy, did I want that pickup, but no, he wouldn't let me buy it. A 180B, like a Datsun 180B. Or Nissan. Datsun? That was in the changeover around then sometime, wasn't it? A 180B. I'm guessing that's a Datsun. Boy, did I want that pickup, but no, he wouldn't let me. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, there you go. I ended up with a 1959 Hillman Minx, which was, about 23 horsepower. Yeesh, that was slow. Barracuda. It was about 1998 that I got the Reed Rubber Enduros. I think I even remember that Enduro name, actually. Andrew here, just consumables were replaced, e.g. brushes, drive shaft, donuts, maintenance on starter motor. Always undercover, a pleasure to drive. Consumable. Well, yeah, of course you're going to have consumables. But no, that's very good. Yeah, you got a good one, man. That's probably quite a desirable car now, isn't it? Good looking car. Barracuda, Vince Martin was in the movie Castaway as a pilot. It was a small part. Did not know that. There you go. Oh, come on. No, it doesn't want to play. Computer's playing hardball. Where are we up to? Where was I up to? Brad Eastman, along came Vince, cool walking Vince, smooth talking Vince. Yeah, that was a great ad. Everyone from America on this chat's going, what are they talking about? You just have to take our word for it. It's just a little blast from the past. Tavo, only thing the Hemi 6 actually shares with the AMC is lifters. They do, however, look very similar, very, very similar in many ways, very similar dimensions. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I have to agree with that. They do look similar. But yeah, internals are very different to externals. They shared the lifters. Yeah, well, some DNA, I guess. Jeff Hutchins, I was looking for a daily driver decades ago, decided on a short wheelbase, two-wheel drive Dodge truck, drove one with a slant 6 4-speed since they were so great, and I'm a straight 6 fan, went with a 318. So what didn't you like about it, Jeff? Like just too slow, or like what was the problem with the slant six? Beagle Bob, I thought all foxes were four leg. Could be. Like I said, I don't think I've ever worked on a fox body. So I'm not the guy. I was assuming the V. That was an assumption. So you know what that is. I was assuming the V8s would have been a 5 leg. But yeah, Beagle Bob, that's much more your alley, your wheelhouse. So I'm sure you're right on that. Josh Homan, Perky can do 0 to 60 if the downhill run is steep enough. Jeff Hutchins, my 52 Willys 1 ton 4-wheel drive pickup, 4,500 pounds, 72 horsepower, F-head, flathead, 0 to 60. Nope. Brad Eastman, yes, a Datsun, and he let me buy a Mini instead. Good little cars, the Minis. I'm not really a fan of Austin Morris, but that Mini, that was their. Some would argue that the Mini was the pinnacle of British Leyland engineering. Really, I don't think they got that little car so right by accident, and then they did all sorts of things to it and made the 1100, Land Crabs and 1300s, and they all just got worse. The Mini was good, but everything that came after it was not. Austin Princesses and Austin Allegros and stuff like that, just awful. But the Mini, they have a cool factor and still very sought after, very popular, with the people that love them. Jeff Hutchins, no, Tavo, don't. Where'd that go? No, Tavo, don't exaggerate. You can measure Perky's 0 to 60 with a sundial. Tavo, Hemi 6 was in Australian hands before AMC was bought by Chrysler, so just very coincidental. Interesting. Did not know that. Gene Turner, welcome along. Does anyone remember the bowl of fish AMX commercial? Tony. No. AMX bowl of fish. No idea. Or espionage, Tavo. Going all conspiracy theorist on me, Tavo. Barracuda, I had a fresh 225 slant single barrel and a 65 Valiant. Stock standard with twin outlet headers, 2-inch exhaust. It was a swift car, the cops said so. Fast enough for an RX2 to have trouble keeping up. Wow. That's pretty good. They had trouble keeping up. An RX2, they scooted along. Now there's an engine that could get some of the 69 Charger people going. Put a rotary in it. See, now that's thinking. Put a rotary in it, or better yet, put 2 in it. There's enough room in the engine bay of a Charger. You could put 2 of them in it. That'd get them going. Tavo 1275 Cooper S was insane. They were a rapid little machine. They were rapid and did very, very well in rallying and a lot of motorsports actually. But rallying, they were quite successful. Power to weight, front drive, and obviously it was well before 4-wheel drives came into effect. But they did well. David Tyree, I hate minis. When I hit the go pedal, I hit the wow pedal at the same time. You're just showing off about having big feet, right? I get it. Jeff Hutchins, can't deal with the low power of the Slant 6. Fair enough. Trying to hot rod them is a waste of time and money. I don't like that they share rod journals either, but that makes them a lot shorter than most. Right. It's quite a compact little engine. But yeah, no, I'm sure someone has managed to hot rod them to some degree, but I don't think that's their crowning glory. Yeah, possibly the Dodge truck was just a little heavy for that motor. But they put a lot of Smart Sixes in those Dodge trucks, though. A lot of them were 6 cylinders, but I guess if you just putting around the farm, I guess you don't need top speed, do you? Pags, Michael Pags, we should say. Oh no, I like saying Pagliorini better. Special models like the SVO, SVT, and Saline have 5-lug. Okay, all the other Fox bodies had 4-lug. Oh, there you go. You learn something every day. Jeff Hutchins, put one in a vehicle that weighs twice as much. Yeah. Which the Dodge truck would have weighed twice as much as the 65 Valiant. Andrew here, not worth much. It's the Alpha 105 which has rocketed up in price. The Giulietta is a four-door sedan, but still has the same engine platform as the 105. Twin Delordos, twin cam crossflow factory extractors. Nice. David Tyree, a guy in Nelson, had an RX-3 engine and a Mini. Okay. Andy Nickel. Was that the wanker or the wankle? Well, maybe it was the previous owned the latter, Buddy Caro, put a North Star in a Charger. Aye. Yep, that's a good choice too. That's a good choice. Barry Cooter, I got my AP6 Valley up to 116 mile per hour once. That's what the speedo said anyway. There you go. Hey, mate, could have been reading under. Who knows? I'd just round it up to 120 and call it good. People always assume they read under. I'm over, sorry, but, they do have been known to read under. Free messer. Put an 81 old diesel in the 69 Charger. Oh dear. What can you say about that idea? Goodness. Gunner, good to have you here, mate. The beauty of the Slant 6 was its durability. It was also used lots in industrial and farm applications. Yeah, it was. A lot of stationary engines were Slant 6s. And yeah, they just went and went. I mean, they didn't make enough power to hurt themselves, really. That's kind of like the old 200 Ford 6-cylinder engine. Very hard to break one because they didn't really make enough power to break themselves. They just went and went and went. If you come across like an old Mustang or an old Falcon or something, with a 6-cylinder, the 200 cubic inch engine, if it's not running, it's highly likely that it will. You get it fired up and it's probably not worn out, and it's not thrown a rod or cracked a piston or anything like that. They just go and go and go and go. And the Slant 6 was much the same. Chuck, later 5.0 Fox Mustangs had 5-lug wheels as well. Okay. Jeff Hutchins, people have successfully drag raced Slant 6s even in fairly heavy cars, but the same dollars would have been and more efficiently better spent on a V8. Yeah. Sergeant Mustang, welcome along, sir. Hey, Kiwi, sensible to run a few feet of rubber hose out of my transcooler outlets to a frame-mounted hard line. That way the powertrain vibrations don't fatigue the hard lines directly. 61 Chrysler. Out of my trans. Yeah, you can run the hard line straight into, like there's over the, typically the trans lines are a good 5 feet long. So any vibrations or movements in the transmission, just gets absorbed down that length. I guess in time, enough time and enough hours, it could fatigue it. But I'll be honest, I'd like the hard line straight into the cooler, and I do like the cooler in the radiator rather than just out in the air to oil cooler. I like that oil. I like the trans fluid to water in the radiator cooler. But I do like hard lines right up to the cooler. If it's like an aftermarket trans cooler, then you're probably going to have to put rubber lines to it. They're not typically set up to have hard lines straight into them. But I just like the hard lines straight into the cooler because there's less places to leak, less hose clamps to come loose, just less everything. It bolts up on that taper seat, that inverted flare, and you tighten them up, forget them. Until I get what you're concerned about, but with the length of the trans line, it doesn't really transfer into enough energy, I don't think, to fatigue and crack. I don't know. Never say never. Maybe 30, 40 years it might happen, but yeah. David Tyree used to blow the doors off V8s. I bet it did. The rotary and a Mini, yeah. Sergeant Mustang using transcooler rated line from Gates. Yeah, it doesn't hurt. Like I say, it's just a little bit of a personal preference. Many cars have been through my workshop with rubber lines. 12 inches of rubber between, the cooler and the hard lines. So it's not a bad thing. It's not a terrible thing. But I don't know. It's just me. I think I like it when they cars still have the hard lines that are running all the way into the radiator. It's just less. It's tidy. It looks good. It's tidy. It's not messy, and just less things to leak. Often those rubber hoses, you'll see drips of red transmission fluid coming off those rubber hose, those little bits of rubber hose that people put in. Often see a leak there. Andrew here, pronounced Julietta. Yeah, I was getting that wrong, wasn't I? Okay, good to know. The correct rated, transcooler rated line is good, and make sure the hard lines, where they're going into the hard lines, have a little flare on them. Kind of like your radiator hose fitting on your radiator has a little flare around it. Just to help lock that rubber on. More often than not, I see those hard lines just cut, and they're just straight, and they will work their way off. I've seen it happen. So yeah, just get your little brake flaring tool out there and put a little flare in it. Doesn't need to be big, just a little, just enough to for that clamp to clamp down on the other side of that flare, and it'll run up against it, and it just stops it. Oh, my battery's running low. I meant to plug that in before I started this thing, and I didn't. See, I've got the cable here. So if I'm quick and I can find the plug, I won't lose you. There you go. Is that working? No, I dropped it. There we go. We're charging. All right, normal service is resumed. Just old diesel and a 69 Charger equals general confusion. That's pretty clever. I like that. Gunner. Yes, a lot of those old sixes were beasts. They were. Jeff Hutchins, to be fair, pretty much all straight sixes are durable. Yeah. Most are 7 main bearing designs, which are more durable than the slant 6. Fair. Tavo, rubber line as short as necessary. Yeah. Yep, I go along with that. Matt Kennedy, hey Kiwi, enjoying the discussion while rebuilding a couple of SU HS6 carbs off my MGC GT. It has decent power and torque from the straight 6. Yes, they were That was the British Leyland 6, wasn't it? That came in, was it the Woolseys? Had that 6, like a Woolsey 6110. I think is where the NGC engine came from. Something like that, anyway. Sergeant Mustang, I could definitely run straight hardline. Do I need to do loops or anything else? No, not. I mean, a bend, yeah, I would. You're going to end up doing bends in it anyway. No, you don't need to do loops. And as I say, if it's in the too hard basket, that's okay. But as I say, just put flares on it, and you'll be fine. I just like hard lines all the way. Don's Manufactory. Hello, folks. Late to the party. You are a bit late to the party. We got 25 minutes left, so it's all good. You're here. That's the main thing. Yeah, you guys are getting away on me. Barracuda, a man who owns a VH Pacer 265 E49 spec engine with triple Webers told me it's incredible how fast you can empty the fuel tank. Well, yes, but that's horsepower costs fuel. That's just a very simple, basic equation. More horsepower requires more fuel. Yeah. I remember watching a program, one of the Top Gear shows, and Jeremy Clarkson had just bought the Ford GT when they first kind of came out with the Ford GT 40, but it wasn't a 40, it was just a Ford GT, the V8 one. And his two sidekicks were kind of teasing him about that and pointing out that he lived like 36 miles from the BBC studios, and at wide open throttle, the Ford GT with the big supercharged 5.4 in it did not have the fuel range to get him to work with a full tank of gas at wide open throttle. Now, the nonsense of it was that very hard to go 36 miles at wide open throttle. But on paper, it didn't have big enough gas tank to get to work. Reality was, of course, it did, but they were just tormenting him. Chris Freeman is better late than never. Exactly. David Tyree, Barracuda. There is a swift LNBC. Fight and talk, Dave. Jeff Hutchins, Charles Dalton, convert that 5.7 diesel back to gas with gas heads. Now it's a 13.5 to 1 compression, heavy duty rods and steel crank. You have an engine worthy of a Charger. I'd put it in a GM, but that actually, has that been done on that diesel engine? I know they did that. Nissan came out with a straight 6 diesel, which was based off the 240Z motor. The original straight 6 that was in those 240s and 280s. I think they were 2.4 and 2.8 litre. And they made a diesel out of it for the Japanese market, which had the heavier, the thicker walls and the bores and all that sort of stuff. And anybody that was racing them would get the diesel block and build it into a gasoline engine. So that was the first time I've heard of that being done. Excuse me, that's the bourbon. But it didn't. It would make sense. It would work on a 5.7 because that's just a 350 then, isn't it? Sergeant Mustang, I'm looking at running the line under the passenger side because it's way less obstructive, but I'll need to union the line so the entire line won't need to come out should I drop the trans. Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Yep. That would work. Charles Dalton, my older son, has an 86 442. We searched for a 350 diesel block to build a gas engine from. High nickel blocks were quite strong. There you go. Yeah, the Nissan engines had thicker walls in the bores, to stop the bores spreading, swelling with the compression. Don's Manufacturing. I can attest to that. Leaving a restaurant, I noticed a puddle under my van. Took me a minute to figure it out. There you go. Yeah. Dean Stevenson, like Like 33.5 has arrived. Very good. Well, how do we now? Now we need to brace ourselves for some Denglish. Right. Now, here we are. Tavo. Flaring steel lines to accept rubber hose. I found it best to use stage 1 of a double flare tool. Puts a bubble shape at the flare, easier to slip the rubber on. Yep, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's a good idea, actually, Tavo. Yeah. I usually just use the second stage, but yeah, that's better. Thank you, sir. Chris Freeman, I fear I've upset the esteemed representative from Cromwell. Jeff Hutchins, I ran complete transmission oil rubber lines with no issue. Just got to route it right and keep your eyes on it. Wrong thing to do, but works for me and my own warranty fire department. There you go. Yeah, I mean, you can use all rubber lines. You have to, because gravity and heat gets to them. You've got to have a lot of clips holding them up because they start doing this and then they end up hanging somewhere where you don't want them, and it could go south very quickly. Buddy Cara, how often should you change the oil on a car that only gets driven a couple of 100 miles a year? That's a good question. Honestly, I tell my customers just change it once a year, like nominate, same time as your birthday. When it's your birthday month, change the oil. Change it at Christmas, change it at summer school break or something like that. Just change it once a year. You don't need to. It doesn't hurt, does it? It doesn't hurt. And if you're getting any condensation, if it's only run a couple of times a year, a couple 100 miles a year, sorry. It seems a waste on the one hand to change it all that often, but if you leave it for 2 years, it's like, when did I last change my oil? I mean, if you've got a sticker on the window, that's fine. Or you write it on your oil filter, as long as it doesn't rub off. I just, with my customers, and it's simple. Like every time it's your birthday or something like that, some event that's once a year, be it Christmas or whatever, like, you just know that every birthday, Christmas, you take the car and change the oil. It just kind of keeps it simple because people forget and time flies and suddenly it's like, yeah, was that a year ago or was it 2 years ago? Shit, it might have been 3, Tavo, little trivia spot. The VG 245 4-barrel emptied the 35-gallon tank quicker than the triple Weber charges at Bathurst. Wow. That is a little bit of trivia. Interesting. So the Webers were more efficient, which would make sense. The Webers are a good carburetor. Tim Stevenson, B-Day Gary Cooter. Oh, jeez. Oh, goodness. David Torrey actually quite like Valiants, except the Charger. Oh, wow. Dean Stevenson, LD24 and LD28 diesel. Yep, that's the ones. Yeah, 2.4 and 2.8. Yep. I couldn't remember the LD, but yeah, light diesel, I'm sure that stands for. But they became very popular with the races, the 240s and 280Z races. Barry Cooter, Chris F., you did that when you snubbed my marriage proposal. Oh, dear. Dean Stevenson, heavy-duty sleeve block, steel crank, all the good bits. Yeah. Yep. Chris Freemus, a Barry Cooter, dude, I'm already married. My wife is right next to me at the moment. Not a good look to bring that up right now. Well, she won, Chris. I mean, it's not like you didn't take him on, take him at his word. So you stuck with the wifey. But yes, not a good look. Yes, that could raise a few ugly questions, couldn't it? Jeff Hutchins, I've seen oil analysis tests over decades old oil, and it didn't degrade nearly as much as everyone warns about. But that was tap the down button one more time. But that was new in the can oil, not sitting in an engine. That has been analysed too. Okay. Jeff Hutchins, and in the engine, it wasn't really anything to worry about years later. No, it's yeah. Yeah, I guess if I was, putting some pretty expensive oil in, some, high grade synthetic, racy type car oil with all the zinc and all the bits and pieces in it, I might want it to last more than 12 months. But if you're paying $25 for a jug of oil once a year, I don't know. It's just what I've got in the habit of telling my customers. And I don't know how many of them listen, because I don't do that many oil changes. So maybe they just ignore me. I don't know. Sergeant Mustang, is plumbing and pipe bending and routing something you get better at? It is at present a gigantic pain. Have you ever done a tips video on it? I have not done a tips video on it, actually. No, but it is something you get better at. You get better at I mean, some of the bends you have to put in, you kind of have to guesstimate where they're going to be. And, you can put a mark on it, which should, we need a 90 about here, and, an inch either way of can make quite a difference. And you do get better at, like factoring in that, there's a little curve around something else before you get to that bend. So we need an extra inch, or we need half, an inch less because of something else. You get better at factoring those little things that can affect it. It's one of those things. Just practice makes perfect. And I don't know that there'd be a tips video in it, other than like doing the flares and stuff like that. But yeah, as you say, it's a gigantic pain, yes. Which is why a lot of people do rubber lines. It's very easy, very easy. Dean Stevenson, I'm just listening. Be careful you don't defile my angelic ears. Yes, not sure how angelic they are, but hey. Chris Freemesser, my wife is involved with women's roller derby. She'd totally kick my ass if I did that. My ass if I did that. There's another spelling, American, the rest of the world spelling. We spell it A-R-S-E. Roller derby girl. Wow. That's pretty cool. No, Buddy Caro. Who else flared a brake line and forgot to put the fitting on? Mate, yes. I saw a great meme about that one day, and it was that Hispanic guy that says, I don't often this, but when I do, it's and some alcohol he's doing it. But it was, I don't often do perfect brake flares, but when I do, I forget the fitting. Yes, that's a thing. That's across the hobby, mate. Though if you've done it, don't feel bad. Like we've all done it. Dean Stevenson, or as Mrs. Ecstasy said, The self-righteous blue-eyed boy with his head up Mars. Oh, no. Barracuda Tavo. I've considered a 4-barrel for my 245. Would it be thirsty? That's I mean, if it's tuned, your engine needs X amount of fuel. Your engine's capable of developing X amount of horsepower. And there's a direct correlation between, the horsepower produced, the RPMs, and how much fuel you need to put in. Putting in more fuel does not make you more horsepower. My ass with his head up Mars. My ass. Okay, I get it, Dino. Yeah, I would. The 4-barrel probably would be more thirsty, but and that's probably because the chances are it would be due to the fact that it's not running the way it should. That's a lot of carburetor for a 6-banger. Probably realistically just needs a smallish 2-barrel, and they get away with the Webers because the Webers are a high-tech carburetor. And the E49 was built to rev. It was built for top end. The top third of the RPM range is where it lived. So those carburetors worked perfectly. But yeah, I've seen 4-barrels on 6-cylinder cars before, and I don't know. They doesn't seem to be a big thing, in my experience. Sergeant Mustang, I'm using Nick Cop line. Does that have different vibration fatigue characteristics than steel lines? Ooh, good question. I don't have an answer for that on you. For you, that's the very soft line, isn't it? It's very easy to bend. Mate, I don't know. Honest answer, I don't know. I'm going to say it's probably not as tough as a steel line. I don't know. Sorry, man. I don't know. That would require more Googling, I would say. Jeff Hutchins, pretty sure you'd have to use the Oldsmobile heads on the 5.7 diesel to go back to gas. Okay. Tavo, depends how much you want to feed it, Barry. Mine was good driving normally, just using the primaries. Okay. Beagle Bob, when the tag expires, change the oil. That's another good one, mate. Yeah, that's the 12 monthly thing. Yeah, that's another good one. Barracuda, Tavo, how many miles per gallon with a light foot? Yeah, well, a nice small 4-barrel Holly or something. You running around on the primaries is probably quite efficient. But yeah, you just got to get the power valves and the jetting right so you're not over-fueling it, because that'll actually hurt your horsepower. Jeff Hutchins, you're definitely not going to hurt your engine by changing the oil more regularly. No. Yep. Michael Pagliarini, I find the GM quick disconnect fuel line flare work the best. Nice barb and a good place for a hose clamp. There you go. Makes sense. Susan Drinkrow, Rob Drinkrow here. Did you find that Tom Bailey video with the Sunbeam Tiger in it? Yes, I did. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. They were that was that was getting majorly new chassis, wasn't it? Yeah, they didn't show a lot of it, unfortunately. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen a bit more on that one. But yeah, I did find it. I think you sent me the link straight to it. So yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, but I did definitely had a look at it. Now, Drink Crow, that's an old motorsport name. Are you connected with the motorsport world, Rob? Or is Drink Crow? Drink Crow was a circuit racing name back in the day, if I remember rightly. And not that common a name. So, yeah. Barracuda Roller Derby Bowling. I suppose you're a member of the Moose Lodge too. Richard Stanbury, howdy Kiwi buddy. Hey, what kind of parts are surprisingly easy to find for Marge and what stuff is hard to find? Suspension stuff is pretty easy. Brake stuff was not hard really, a little pricey, but not hard. So all that sort of stuff was pretty easy. Engine parts and stuff are fairly easy. And hard to find, trim, stainless steel trim, quarter vent windows that aren't broken already and stuff like that. Certainly no upholstery kits or anything. You can buy carpets for them, sets of carpets for them, even for the wagon. That's mainly because it's the same as the sedan. But yeah, upholstery stuff's hard to find, trim's hard to find. Mechanicals, pretty easy. Even that cast iron torque flight, you can buy rebuild kits for those. Again, a little pricey. That's the choice you make. If you want cheap, buy a Mustang or a Camaro. Small block Chevy, turbo 350. All that is cheap. But you go to Mopar and you can get it, but it's a bit pricier. And trim stuff, no one's reproducing stainless trim really for those old Mopars. So yeah. David Torrey, Chris, so customers are like wives. Yeah, I'm going to plead the fifth on that one. Tavo, I used to be in stainless steel airlines for the buses when I used to build them. It definitely gets easier with practice. Yeah. Yep, for sure. Jeff Hutchins, buddy car, I've never flared a hard line without putting the fitting on first. You learn that lesson pretty quickly. I figured out what those grooves and the rollers of the tubing cutter are for. Yes. Barracuda, the 4-barrel primaries are probably smaller than with the 2-barrel Carter. If it's a small enough 4-barrel, quite possibly, yeah. Like if it's the little 500 Holly, 500, I think is it 500 or 500 and something CFM, a little baby, like smaller than the 600 4-barrel Holly. Get one of those. There, that would work. Andrew here, if I run the Alpha at 90 kilometers per hour, fuel economy is around 10 litres per 100 kilometers. If I go to 110 kilometer rises to 13 to 14 litres per 100. I think the main jet cuts in as the engine is getting over the 3,000 RPM, mate. Oh, okay. All right, starts pulling fuel from a different part of the carburetor. Interesting. Nobody here is going to know what that equates out to, 10 litres per 100 kilometres. I don't even know what that is. But, my buddies back in New Zealand, like, they've known forever, they all, in the car industry, all talk about in those terms, how many litres per 100 Ks, and that's just completely over my head. I have no idea. Like that 10 per 100, I don't know if that's good, bad, average. I have no idea. It's just not an equation we're used to over here. Tavo, 18mm air lines, 15mm power steer lines, 10mm fuel lines, all much the same. Stainless steel is pretty hard to work with too. That's tough shit. That's tough to bend. Chef Hutchins, I've learned to bend hardline around appropriate sized object to get nice curves. I like nice curves. Don't we all? Amen to that. Barracuda, here we go. I have a brush related story. Uh-oh, that could be bad. Wow, okay. Sergeant Mustang, yeah, it's the nickel copper iron alloy. That's fairly soft. I don't know whether that softness would make it flex and vibrate better without cracking, or whether it would be worse. I really don't know, mate. I'm sorry. David Torrey, for a 6, how about a 4-barrel 390 CFM 4150 Holly? I've forgotten about those really are small. Can you buy those new now, or was that a factory, something they made for factory cars? That's a pretty small car, but 4-barrel, isn't it? Beagle Bob, my diesel gets changed once a year. I just don't drive it much. If I start building a house, that will change. There you go. It will. It certainly will. Beagle Bob, everything I own gets Super Tech oil unless Valvoline or something is on sale for cheaper. Fair enough. Sergeant Mustang, thanks for the advice and positivity as always. Oh, you're most welcome, mate. I'm sorry I didn't have all the answers. Jeff Hutchins, I would think that nickel copper line would be more tolerant to vibration since it's softer, but I definitely don't know that to be true. Mate, we're on exactly the same page. That's kind of what I think too, but I don't want to say that because that might be wrong. I don't know. You sit there doing this, see how long it takes till it breaks. Not very scientific, is it? Tavo, the VG Pacer used a Carter AFB mounted sideways, much like the early Hyperpack, caused all sorts of problems powering out of corners. Oh, okay. Huh. Barry Cooter, here's Barry's bus story. In the 80s, Dad worked for Dunedin City Buses. They tested re-refined oil in a rebuilt engine and new oil in another fresh engine. When they pulled them both down, the one using re-refined was, wait for it, considerably more worn than the other. So they abandoned the plan for using cheaper re-refined oil. Interesting. Considerably more wear. Oil can't have been very clean, I would imagine. Chris Freemuser, regarding nickel copper, does work harden? So what are the chances it's more susceptible to fracturing due to vibration? Yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know. I would probably take the safe route and go for a steel line. Clamp it down to the engine like they did back in the day, and so you're not getting vibrating and shaking over the whole 4 or 5 foot length. Buddy Caro, I could build a complete Mustang out of a catalogue. Yes, you could. Don's Manufacturing, aren't 2-barrel cams rated as 3 inches of vacuum and 4 barrels? When they're rating the CFM, how many CFMs they are at a certain amount of vacuum? That I don't know. Yeah, CFM is related to vacuum, the amount of vacuum as it's being pulled through. So I don't know. It's a very good question, though, Don. That would certainly make a difference to the alleged side of the carburetor. Yes, dear. 6904. I'm running a 390 on my 4.3 4-barrel. There you go. Interesting. Right. Well, we're kind of out of time, guys. We're running over a little bit. Okay, dry road misfits. 10 litres per 100 Ks, 10 litres per 60 miles, 2.5 gallons per 60 miles, or about 23 miles per gallon. There you go. Oh, so 10 is acceptable. Don's manufacturer, stainless work hardens faster, or work hardens fast. Stainless does. What about regular steel? Jeff Hutchins, why is barrel abbreviated to BBL? I always wondered that. It doesn't make sense. It's a good point. Yeah, we all know what it means, BBL. Yeah, that's a good question. People are going to be lighting up Google, aren't they, after this chat? Barracuda, the price of 91 here got down to 297 last week, and the next day it's back up to 319. It's very up and down. Wow, for 91. $3 a litre, which is about $12 a gallon. In New Zealand money, admittedly, but still, that's a lot. David Torrey, 390 Holly is still available. Okay. I'd be tempted to look at that 390 Holly for a Valiant engine, for the six banger. That would be big enough and should give you pretty good throttle response and pretty decent fuel economy and a little bit of extra oomph when you need it. Phil Dodge Fury, mate, you left your run a little late. I'm just signing off. But hey, thanks for dropping by. Jeff Hutchins, it's just brakes. Don't worry about the lines, they just slow you down. Buddy Caro, would you buy good used sheet metal or new aftermarket? I would buy good used sheet metal if it's original, not used aftermarket. I would much rather use a factory pressing than an aftermarket one if I given the chance. But sometimes you're buying as much trouble as the aftermarket one is. Dean Stevenson, Petrochemicals Blue Book defined BBL as one blue barrel. Looks like Dino got to Google first, huh? Lineworks Genetics. Be glad you don't daily a diesel truck. Yes. David Tyree, don't go. When am I going to go to bed? I need my beauty sleep, as you can tell. I need my beauty sleep. And Volfly's just arrived too. Good grief. You're definitely leaving it late, Volfly. Clings to, what'd that say? Clings to lemon pepper chicken. Oh, nice. Nice. Barracuda. I had a 390 Holly. It makes my stuff and I sold it. Oh, that's frustrating. Firefly still eating soft foods. That's no good, mate. Right. Well, it's 9:10 and it's time to go. And thanks, guys. Tonight was very entertaining, actually. That was a good night. We talked about cars in one way or another, I think all night. Lineworks G, any word on if you're going to use the rear valance on your 67 Sunbeam? Mate, no. I'll tell you what I'll try and do. I'll try and get back by and look at because it's not at my shop. The 67 that I've got, it's at another location. So I'll have to swing by and have a look at it. One, see if it's any good, and if it is any good, then I'll have to try and make a decision on whether I'm going to use it. Okay, I will try and do that as soon as I can. But yeah, I've got a whole lot of things I need to do as soon as I can. So, Tavo, I had a bit of a car chat this week. Yeah, we did, which was good. I'm very impressed with everybody. We didn't talk about, Barracuda just brought up Savoys, but apart from that, very car related. So that was fun. It was good. All right, guys. Well, thanks very much. And I'll see you same place, same time next week. And yeah, we'll do it all again. So yeah, sorry for the guys that just arrived, but I got to go to bed. All right, fellas, have a good one. Look after yourselves and try and get out in the shade and work on your car. All right, see ya. Bye-bye.